Imagine standing at the edge of a vast, still lake at dawn. The water is perfectly calm, mirroring every cloud and ray of morning light. Now picture dropping a single pebble into its surface. One small motion, one tiny ripple, and suddenly the entire reflection changes. Everything that was once still begins to shift in a dance of rings, each wave overlapping the next. This is your inner world. In every moment of your life, thoughts, feelings, and realizations ripple through you, shaping the image you hold of yourself. The question is, are you aware of the ripples? Or do you stand at the shore, wondering why the reflection you see is so different from the calm you believed was there? All too often, we move through life with a sense of urgency, rushing to meet deadlines, appease others, or conform to expectations that may not truly be our own. But ask yourself, what is the cost of living this way? Could it be that in failing to truly find yourself, you risk losing the very essence that makes your life worth living? The great psychologist Carl Jung once suggested that true life, in its most vibrant and authentic form, begins the moment you embark on the journey to discover who you really are beneath society's masks. Imagine if you never took that journey. How many dreams would remain unexplored? How many quiet passions would remain silenced, overshadowed by a life spent chasing illusions? Here, we delve into an idea at once ancient and ever relevant. Life begins when you find yourself, a concept deeply rooted in the teachings of Carl Jung. In this exploration, you will walk through everyday scenarios, meet voices from psychology and philosophy, and confront the subtle forces in society that can keep you from truly knowing yourself. This is not merely an intellectual exercise, it is an invitation to transformation, to hope, and to a renewed sense of purpose. By the end, you will discover tools, both practical and reflective, that can help you peel back the layers and glimpse who you are at the core. Because, as Jung might remind you, failing to ask these questions isn't just a missed opportunity, it's the forfeiture of the life that could be genuinely yours. To find yourself, to truly understand who you are beyond the sum of your habits and roles, is no small feat. It might first help to recognize how this challenge appears in ordinary life. Picture yourself waking up on a typical weekday. You check your phone for messages before your feet even hit the ground. You scroll through social media, absorbing images and stories that shape your mood, sometimes triggering envy, sometimes inciting a sense of inadequacy. You hurry to get ready for work, rarely pausing to question whether the path you're on resonates with your own calling. Maybe you're juggling responsibilities to family, friends, or a demanding career. By the time you reach your desk or workspace, you're already so immersed in external obligations that the question, "Who am I beneath all this?" rarely crosses your mind. But ask yourself, have you noticed how the noise of daily living can drown out the voice of your inner self? The routines, the notifications, the expectations, do they leave room for self-reflection? Or do they close you off from the crucial task of introspection, like blinds that shut out the morning sun? To feel a sense of unease or a subtle longing for something more is common. Yet this restlessness often remains buried under the constant stimuli of modern life. We consume media, chase new hobbies, or perpetually engage with friends online, all without pausing to see if these actions are truly aligned with our deepest values. As Carl Jung famously stated, "Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakes." This is the core challenge. How do you awaken to yourself in a world that seems determined to keep you dreaming? Carl Jung's work centers on individuation, the process by which a person becomes their most authentic self. This journey demands that you look inward, confronting not only the socially acceptable parts of your personality, but also the elements you have disowned, what Jung called the shadow. By shadow, he referred to all the parts of yourself you keep hidden for fear they might be unacceptable, shameful, or not normal. However, the shadow also contains immense creative and emotional energy. To find yourself is to welcome the totality of who you are, shadow included. Jung argued that ignoring this inner dimension leads to fragmentation. You might experience this as a persistent sense of emptiness or be caught in repetitive patterns of behavior you can't seem to break. Perhaps you continually clash in your relationships, or you struggle to maintain a facade of happiness while feeling something else brewing below the surface. Individuation means shedding that facade, reclaiming the hidden bits of your psyche, and integrating them into a coherent, fully conscious sense of self. While Freud and Jung ultimately parted ways, Freud's emphasis on the unconscious mind laid the groundwork for later psychologists to acknowledge the vast undercurrents that shape behavior and identity. Freud introduced the idea that much of what we do is governed by unconscious impulses, desires, fears, and memories that are not readily accessible to our conscious awareness. Though you may believe you're making deliberate choices, underlying motivations, be they unresolved childhood wounds or suppressed emotions, can act like hidden puppeteers. If nothing else, Freud teaches us that the path to knowing yourself is not always straightforward. It can involve unraveling layers of conditioning from early life experiences. Ask yourself, is it possible that some of your biggest decisions, where you live, what career you pursue, how you handle relationships, are guided by forces you're not fully aware of? It's not comfortable to entertain the idea that your life might be directed by invisible forces. Yet recognizing this possibility can be the first step in breaking free from these hidden constraints. Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor and psychiatrist, approached self-discovery from the perspective of meaning. In his book, Man's Search for Meaning, he articulates how a sense of purpose is not only central to human well-being, but a force that can sustain us through unimaginable trials. Frankl suggests that when you identify a purpose that resonates with your deepest values, it can anchor you in turbulent times, helping you endure suffering and find a sense of peace in the chaos. Finding yourself then becomes intertwined with discovering or creating meaning in your life. It's not just about unraveling your personality, but also about aligning your actions with a purposeful direction. Reflect on that for a moment. Are your daily activities connected to a broader vision that fulfills you? Or do you go through the motions, unsure why you do what you do? Frankl's message is clear. Without a guiding sense of meaning, the psyche flounders. To find yourself, you must also uncover the cause, however humble or grand, that makes life worth living. Modern culture is full of distractions, from the omnipresent glow of smartphone screens to 24/7 news cycles that turn your attention from one crisis to the next. We live in an era where being busy is equated with being successful, and where productivity is sometimes valued more than genuine well-being. According to a study by the Pew Research Center, the average American spends over 5 hours a day on mobile devices. That's a substantial portion of each day where your thoughts, emotions, and self-concept can be influenced by algorithms, advertisements, and social comparisons. What happens to the voice of your authentic self amid this barrage of external inputs? Think of your mind as a garden. If you're constantly planting seeds from external sources, you may find invasive weeds overshadowing the flowers you truly wish to cultivate. This external clamor can drown out the subtle call to introspection that is necessary for individuation. Beyond technology, social norms shape our self-image. We might adopt careers, lifestyles, or beliefs just because everyone else is doing it. There's even a psychological principle called social proof, which suggests that in ambiguous situations, we tend to look to others to decide how to behave. Extrapolate that across your entire life, and it's easy to see how the group's consensus can overshadow your individual insights. Consider the cultural emphasis on success as defined by wealth, status, or physical attractiveness. These markers can become illusions, invisible chains that keep you bound, striving for external markers rather than looking inward at what genuinely fulfills you. And it's not that wealth or status are inherently detrimental. The key question is whether those aims reflect your own values or whether they're inherited from cultural norms that don't truly resonate with who you are. Economic forces can also limit your capacity for self-discovery. If you're buried under financial stress or working multiple jobs to make ends meet, the luxury of introspection might feel out of reach. Still, as Frankl and many others have illustrated, meaning and self-knowledge can be found even in adverse conditions. The journey to find yourself does not require lavish retreats or quiet mountaintops, although such spaces can help. Sometimes, the most profound insights arise when you have to carve out moments of reflection in otherwise packed, stressful days. One of the most powerful metaphors for understanding the self is the mirror. You look into it and see a reflection of who you think you are. But is it the real you, or is it just a mask that's pleasing, socially acceptable, or convenient for the roles you currently play? Picture yourself in a house of mirrors at a carnival. Each mirror distorts your image differently. Some make you taller, others wider. Some create illusions of multiple versions of you standing side by side. Society acts like these distorting mirrors, projecting versions of who you might be: the ideal employee, the perfect partner, the comedic friend, the quiet one, the overachiever. And if you never pause to question these reflections, you may come to adopt them as your reality. Jung's emphasis on the shadow is crucial here. The part of yourself that you or society deem unacceptable often ends up repressed, only to surface as unexplainable anger, jealousy, fear, or unfulfilled longing. A seemingly small argument might trigger a disproportionate wave of emotion, signaling that there's something unresolved within you, lurking in your unconscious. This is the shadow pressing to be acknowledged. To fully see yourself in the mirror, you must be willing to look at every distortion and realize that beneath them all lies a complex, multifaceted being, yearning to be recognized. Another metaphor that resonates with discovering the self is that of a labyrinth. You wander its corridors, unsure which turn leads to a dead end and which path moves you closer to the center. This labyrinth is your psyche. Each twist in the path might represent a memory, a belief system, or a defense mechanism you formed over time. Myths, fairy tales, and spiritual traditions across cultures have long used this metaphor, symbolizing the journey inward as one filled with challenge, mystery, and ultimate revelation. Jung was particularly fond of archetypes, universal symbols shared across humanity that appear in myths and stories. In the labyrinth of your mind, you might encounter archetypal figures like the hero, the wise old man, or the trickster. Recognizing these archetypes in your dreams, fantasies, or creative work can be a stepping stone to understanding your deeper narrative. Ask yourself, if you are in that labyrinth, are you wandering aimlessly, or do you carry a thread, some guiding principle or question that moves you forward? Perhaps your thread is a desire to serve others, to become an artist, or to heal from past trauma. Whatever it is, hold on to that thread. It can keep you grounded when the maze of your mind feels daunting. Going deeper. Progressive unfolding of insights. Layer 1. Recognizing the discomfort. The first layer in this journey is often a feeling of discomfort or dissatisfaction with your life as it is. It may manifest as anxiety, boredom, or a nagging sense that something's missing. Too often, people numb this feeling through distraction, video games, binge watching, overeating, or even overworking. Before you can find yourself, you must recognize that this discomfort is a message from your inner self, a wake-up call urging you to dig deeper. Reflect. When was the last time you felt restless or inexplicably sad? Did you stop to wonder why, or did you try to brush it off? Layer 2. Identifying the masks. The second layer involves identifying the roles or masks you wear. Are you the caretaker who never allows yourself to have a bad day? The comedic friend who hides your own pain behind a joke? The overachiever who ties your entire sense of self-worth to external validation? Each mask might serve a social function, yet it risks obscuring the real you. Ask, what do I gain by wearing these masks, and what do I lose? Often, the perceived benefits, acceptance, popularity, or avoidance of conflict come at the cost of authenticity. Layer 3. Encountering the shadow. Here is where Jung's concept of the shadow becomes paramount. To move forward, you must face what lurks in your unconscious, the traits, impulses, and memories you'd rather not acknowledge. It might be anger you've repressed from childhood, envy you hide behind gracious smiles, or resentments you keep bottled up out of fear of rocking the boat. When left unexamined, the shadow can sabotage relationships and careers, even your sense of self. But when integrated, it can be a source of creativity, power, and wholeness. This step is not easy. It can involve therapy, deep journaling, or difficult conversations. However, it's the crux of genuine self-discovery. As Jung would say, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. Layer 4. Integrating insights into daily life. Understanding your psyche is one thing. Living from that understanding is another. Once you've recognized your roles, met your shadow, and begun the path to individuation, the real work lies in integrating this new awareness into everyday life. How do you maintain authenticity in your relationships, or stay grounded in your sense of self when confronted with real-world pressures, bills, deadlines, or social obligations? This is where you learn to express yourself honestly and set boundaries that honor your values. You stand up for your own truths, even if they conflict with someone else's expectations. Throughout this journey, it's crucial to keep checking in with yourself. Here are some reflection prompts and 2 actionable suggestions to consider. Ask yourself, when I picture my ideal day, what am I doing? Who am I with? And how do I feel? Ask yourself, are you anywhere close to that vision in your current reality? If not, what small step can you take today to bridge that gap? Try a 10-minute daily journaling practice specifically focused on exploring uncomfortable emotions or recurring dreams. You might write, "Today, I felt jealous when," or "I couldn't shake off this dream." By confronting these feelings openly on paper, you create a safe container to acknowledge and befriend your shadow. Over time, patterns will emerge, recurring themes that point you toward deeper truths about yourself. Reflection. Prompt. What beliefs or standards have I internalized from my family or culture that might not truly resonate with me? Often, you'll find that some of the rules you follow in life are hand-me-downs that no longer serve you. Limit your exposure to social media and digital inputs for at least 1 day a week. During this mini detox, pay attention to the voices and desires that arise from within. Keep a notepad close to jot down insights or reflect on what truly stirs your passion and curiosity when external noise is muted. This practice can help you discern the difference between your genuine inner voice and the chorus of opinions and images constantly bombarding you. Ask yourself, who are the people in my life that encourage authenticity and who tends to push me back into old roles? Identifying supportive relationships is key. It's much easier to walk the path of self-discovery when accompanied by those who value and respect your journey. Each of these strategies aims to strip away distractions and help you confront truths within yourself that might otherwise remain hidden. Though seemingly small steps, they hold the power to catalyze profound change when practiced consistently. Now let's go deeper. What is the hidden cost of ignoring the call to find yourself? Often, it manifests as a dull ache or a chronic sense of emptiness. You may achieve external success, admiration from peers, financial security, social status, but still feel unfulfilled. A mismatch arises between your outward life and your inner reality. Relationships can suffer because authentic connection requires each person to show up as they genuinely are. When you hide behind masks, intimacy becomes impossible to sustain. Living disconnected from yourself can also lead to burnout. Constantly pushing to meet demands that do not align with your true values is like trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. It eventually wears you down. Over time, you may experience a crisis that forces you to question your life choices, a sudden job loss, a painful breakup, or a health scare. While these crises are unwelcome, they can also serve as catalysts, sounding the alarm that something must change. Jung believed that much of what we call a midlife crisis is actually the psyche's demand for individuation, the soul's plea to be acknowledged. The final realization, embracing the journey of self-discovery, isn't just about introspection or self-expression. It's fundamentally about meaning and purpose. As Viktor Frankl emphasized, the will to meaning is at the core of human motivation. When you peel back the layers, confront your shadow, and integrate what you learn into daily life, you become aligned with your intrinsic purpose. This alignment infuses your actions with vitality. Life begins in earnest the moment you choose to live from your authentic center, rather than from external scripts. Jung's teachings remind us that the psyche is a living system with a natural drive toward wholeness. By listening to the signals of discomfort, by daring to examine your masks and your shadow, you step onto a path that not only reveals who you are, but also clarifies why you are here. Ignoring this journey can lead to unrealized potential, regrets, and a sense that you've slept through your own life. Heeding the call awakens you to a state of freedom, one where your choices resonate with your deepest essence. So here you stand, at the edge of the lake once again, the water still and reflective. You have the pebble of awareness in your hand, the knowledge that finding yourself is not a frivolous pursuit, but the foundation upon which a meaningful life is built. You've glimpsed how everyday distractions, social norms, and unacknowledged shadows can keep you in a half-awake state. You've learned from Jung, Freud, and Frankl that self-discovery involves confronting unconscious forces, forging a sense of purpose, and integrating the often hidden aspects of your psyche. You've seen how modern culture, with its relentless demands, can distract you from the essential work of individuation, and you've discovered practical steps, journaling, mindful boundaries with technology, intentional reflection, to begin this journey. Now the decision is yours. Will you cast the pebble into the lake, watch the ripples spread, and remain present as your reflection transforms? Will you question the illusions you've adopted as truth, face your shadow, and seek the thread of purpose that runs through your life's labyrinth? Doing so may be uncomfortable, even unsettling, but consider the cost of inaction. If you never look deeper, you risk drifting through life on autopilot, missing the profound fulfillment and peace that comes from living authentically. Here is your call to action. Schedule a ritual of reflection this very week, a span of time, no matter how brief, dedicated solely to exploring the questions posed here. Share your insights with a trusted friend, mentor, or therapist, someone who can hold you accountable and support you in moments of doubt. Take a first tangible step toward authenticity, whether it's setting a boundary in a relationship, volunteering for a cause that aligns with your values, or pursuing an abandoned creative project. Remember, real change doesn't require grand gestures. Consistency and sincerity in your quest to know yourself are far more powerful than brief bursts of inspiration. Each step you take sends ripples through the waters of your life, ultimately shifting the entire reflection. You have within you an extraordinary capacity for growth, transformation, and genuine happiness. Life truly begins when you look inward and dare to find yourself. when you recognize that your identity cannot be found in external achievements or the shifting demands of others, but in the timeless, infinite world of your own inner being. This journey can be both your greatest challenge and your greatest reward. So step forward, embrace the discomfort, the wonder, and the revelation that come from turning your gaze inward. Commit to unveiling the hidden dimensions of your psyche, integrating your shadow, and nurturing the seeds of meaning that lie dormant within you. In doing so, you will find that the world is not just something that happens to you. It is something you actively shape through your awakened presence. That's where true life begins, in the meeting of your deepest self with the boundless possibilities of each moment.